Greetings, all! Today, we'll be examining the Poison-type Ultra Beast Poipole and its Poison Dragon-type evolution Naganadel, the two collectively known as the Poison Pin Pokémon. While they might look somewhat cute at a young age, the members of the Poipole family can grow up to become truly devastating killers with the right moves under their belt.
Poipole have small, humanoid bodies with a bright purple exoskeleton and tiny digiless arms, the lower torso and thighs being thicker, with a pink-tipped tail with a single spike on its top, as well as a pink belly and face with large pupilless light blue eyes. Their head is quite large in size with a beehive shape to it, featuring pink markings along its surface, as well as a series of 3 grey pin-like needles, the one in the center top of the head being larger than the other two, that are used to release and inject poison with. The evolved form, Naganadel, have a more wasp-like body form, with tiny arms with 3 small pink claws each, as well as a large abdomen that was once the head of their pre-evolved form, with dark and light purple stripes along it and a massive central stinger at the end. Their head has also become much craggier and more dragon-like in form, where the wavy central head crest where the tail used to be, and they further feature a set of purple wings with light pink markings and a few spines along the outer edges. Starting out, Poipole are unique among non-legendary Ultra Beasts in that they actually are little more than larvae biologically speaking, only sharing this trait along with other traits such as the ability to float in the air via electromagnetism with the likes of the Cosmog family. For the most part, Poipole do not have access to much in the way of direct offense, instead relying on tactical moves to keep themselves safe and render the opposition weakened and unable to fight back at the full capacity. This is the nature of the creatures because their greatest weapon is the viscous toxic liquid that fills the majority of their head, their brains otherwise taking up only a small portion of their head cavity. This toxic liquid is not immediately lethal on its own, but it is made so by the fact that it is incredibly sticky, with adhesion qualities that outperform most substances on Earth. Moreover, under normal circumstances, Poipole are unable to evolve into their adult state, as they have been selectively bred to render the genes needed to activate evolution inactive. This is primarily because the adult form of Poipole, Naganadel, are extremely dangerous to be around even when under the direct control of an individual. As a result, they are normally stuck in a larval state, but there is a slight problem that renders this point less than comforting. While the genes that need to be active for evolution to occur are rendered inert for the most part, it seems that they have a tendency to mutate into an active status when exposed to exotic forms of energy, in particular draconic energy. This again would not normally be a huge problem, but in the case of Poipole, if raised from an egg or given specialized training, they have the capacity to learn the powerful Dragon Pulse attack, and if they bow to the point of gaining an experience level while they have access to this move, it can be enough to trigger the inactive genes and reactivate them, causing these otherwise innocent-looking creatures to evolve into the devastating Naganadel. Naganadel are very similar to the pre-evolved form in terms of the kinds of moves they learn, but they are still different on account of their type assignment and natural powers, as well as their much more aggressive personalities. They are still a massive improvement, however, as while they might share the Beast Boost ability, they show a much greater emphasis on their special offenses and agility, the base special attack and speed stats being above average for fully evolved Poison and Dragon-type Pokémon, and are more than able to put their power into practice when needed. The liquid that fills the heads of Poipole is designed to stick to prey items as it is sprayed from the needles that adorn the creature's heads, not only trapping the prey item and sticking them to the ground to the point where they become immobile, but in turn providing more than enough time for the toxins to seep into their skin, resulting in toxic shock in as little as 5 minutes. This can be directed to help these creatures utilize a variation of the acid attack with a bit of help, but it is generally a better idea to not have them use the liquid at all in battle, as its fatality rate is incredibly high if not removed from a target shortly after an attack. Thankfully, Poipole are generally quite understanding of the differences between prey and opponents in battle, and can dilute the poison inside them in order to weaken its overall effect, making it possible for an opponent to survive the attack and recover from the strike. It is duly noted, though, that this is not the only trick these creatures have up their sleeves, as they are also able to detect other life forms through thermal vision, and can therefore observe them no matter where they might go, as long as the heat signature is still apparent. Despite the safety threat they seemingly pose, Poipole are generally very friendly creatures, and are probably among the safest of Ultra Beasts to try and befriend. It is believed that this is the result of selective breeding by the people of Ultra Megalopolis, as their docile behavior makes them useful as partners and are considered to be the equivalent of starter Pokemon in that world. Poipole only show cruel tendencies when they are hunting prey, and since it is for the sake of survival, this makes some sense, though the cackling noise they make as they watch a prey item get trapped in the sticky toxins can still be a bit off-putting. Even so, Poipole are generally quite easy to train and are incredibly loyal to those they trust, so much so that people can often keep control of them even without the need of a capture device to contain them, again a product of selective breeding and careful maintenance of their behavioral traits.
Unlike Poipole, who are very kind and playful creatures for the most part, Naganadel are feared in their native world because of their incredibly vicious and aggressive personalities.
While experienced partners can wield the creatures with a decent degree of control, the fact that Poipole can get access to the one move that can trigger evolution makes them a danger, as young children almost always have no way of controlling these beasts right away if a strong bond has not been formed between them, and Naganadel have been known to turn on their owners if they become agitated or extremely hungry. This translates directly into their stance in battle as well, as these creatures will viciously fly in circles around their prey items and opponents alike, striking where they detect vulnerabilities and never letting up until they know for certain that their target is deceased and not getting up again. This tendency to kill over simply defeating the opposition is the prime reason why evolution was selectively bred out of Poipole for the most part, and without the aid of capture devices like those seen in our world, there is no hope for a native of their land to easily command them. Moreover, because they can only evolve through repeated exposure to draconic energy, they take on the attributes of the type in evolution, making them poison dragon type Pokemon. Secondly, instead of relying solely on electromagnetic repulsion field to keep them aloft, they actually have wings in their adult form, allowing them to fly around at high speeds and utilize the air cutter attack, which they gain access to immediately after evolving, as well as air slash and dragon rush, as well as being given the opportunity to learn Dragon Pulse again if it somehow was forgotten. Thirdly, while these creatures still retain the ability to fire a sticky toxic liquid from their bodies that can stick an opponent onto the ground, they also have access to much more of it, as the large abdomen, which is where their brain is actually located, is packed with hundreds of liters of the viscous material, thus allowing them to literally hose down prey and encapsulate them in the liquid to the point of suffocating them. It is additionally noted that, unlike Poipole, these creatures naturally produce a unique chemical compound in the poisonous liquid that causes it to glow brightly when exposed to the air outside of their body, acting as a tracer that Naganadel can then use to track prey items in case they manage to get free of their bindings without completely removing the toxic liquids from the surface of their bodies. It is especially useful in places where light is very limited or otherwise not naturally found, as is the case of Ultra Megalopolis, and the high base special attack stat enables them to take down most prey items from afar easily, making them a severe threat to have to face in any fight.
As a fellow Ultra Beast, I can definitely say that, while the first stage of this family might be a relative joy to be around, their evolved form is the total opposite, and I wouldn't go for so much as a photo op with them. Poipole are cute little rascals that can be really fun to play with since they know how to play nice, and unlike a lot of other Ultra Beasts, their non-aggressive nature makes it a heck of a lot easier to communicate with them. They do still have some potent poisons in them that can make them a bit of a threat, but by and large they're pretty easy to handle. Naganadel, on the other hand, are nasty insectoids that can get the hell away from me, not just for their massive size, but especially their aggressive tendencies. They might have some noble power to them and access to a lot of great attacks, but as a trainer myself, I would recommend extreme caution ever trying to work with these beasts, as the tendency to use attacks to aim for kill can be hard to train out of them, and in turn render them a danger to try and befriend if one doesn't have an extremely strong bond with them prior to evolution.
Though they might not seem all that bad in either evolutionary states on paper to some, the members of the Poipole family can be a massive case of whiplash for some that might not otherwise know what to do with them when their demeanor changes over time. It might be possible for the few that can get a hold of one to make do with them, but extreme caution is still recommended for the sake of one's personal safety.
As such, do yourself a favor and try not to ward them off as you would a wasp or any other related creature in our world. They might have the body and mentality of such a beast once fully evolved, but a single sting from one of these beasts is likely to prove to be a lot more painful when it forces you into toxic shock and potentially even dissolves your insides as it works its way through your system.
Thank you all for watching this video. It always brings me great joy to see others enjoying the work I do to try and make the world of Pokemon and the fascinating creatures that lay inside of it feel as real as they possibly can. If you really enjoy my work, please feel free to leave a comment and subscribe, as I always do my best to respond to any and all comments that are left on my videos. In addition, if you wish to learn more about my work and help support it, you can find links to my Patreon page, as well as email and other contact information to my work on DeviantArt in the video description down below. Furthermore, you can find a link to my Discord server there as well if you'd like to get a first glimpse at what videos are coming up next and converse with other fans of the world of Pokemon. Thank you for taking the time to watch this, and have a wonderful rest of your day.